before we go too much further, we should point out that we have a whole bunch of really good video for this episode, but my phone, which we do most of our videoing with, decided to go snorkeling without me, and it is now toast, and so we're left with everything that Kay has on her phone. Anyway, so we're gonna try and make a good video for you. Hopefully you like it, but it's an epic video without video. And you're going to
It would be so good.
You're going to be stuck with two talking heads for several pieces of this video.
Yeah, our first stop was Scedro Island, and we specifically wanted to stop there because of this bay that was sheltered from the winds that were projected, and they were supposed to be fairly strong winds, so we headed there for a mooring ball, and it was a really deep, well, long, deep bay, which was protected pretty much from all sides. So we headed there, and we spent a couple days there, and it was actually really nice.
It was nice.
Yeah, it's like a co-op type situation on the island where all the businesses pool their profits to benefit the people that live and work on the island. At least that is as much information as I could get from one of the guys that we talked to. This one was the carob one because it's not as sweet and it has a really interesting aftertaste. So here's what we ended up with. Grappa, which I have never tasted, which I find crazy since I I've been in Greece for 8 to 10 months. This is made with carob and it's delicious. And he said he won a bronze medal for this. These waves stink. It's super choppy. We had to start motor sailing because of the wind dying down. Yeah, so it's been kind of poop for the last hour.
It was like Sydney Harbor days going past
the
bar.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
There were so many boats.
So much traffic. So everything was full. We thought we were there on the right day, but we weren't.
Mistimed it badly. Yeah. So I think we tried 14 different places that day.
Yes.
And we finally found a little bay.
So I didn't like how our anchor looked and how much chain we let out, so we re-anchored and we are going to do another stern tie. And I didn't get it on film, but Guy swam over, tied a bowline around a tree, and it feels pretty secure now, so we can sleep soundly. But here he goes. So you put a buoy on it. You put the buoy on so no one, motorboats especially, go behind your boat and, you know, strangle themselves on a line.
The next morning, the wind started to pick up again.
Yeah, really uncomfortable actually.
Actually, we re-anchored and re-stern tied twice, and the winds just kept picking up and getting worse and worse, and we kept getting closer to the rocks that were right behind our boat, and it just got really ugly and uncomfortable.
And our gut feeling said, no, don't stick around and stress about it all day. We knew Viz was not too far away, maybe 5 or 8 nautical miles away, and we just decided to head there to a very nice harbor, Viz and Kut. They have mooring balls, we knew that, and we were leaving at a time of day where we were likely to get one. And so we just booked out of there.
We just made a snap decision to cross the channel to Viz, which was 5 nautical miles away. We could see it, it looked close enough to swim to.
It was a headwind, so we knew we had a motor.
And about 10 minutes into our trip, the swells picked up. And they kept picking up. And they kept picking up. And our boat was just like a rocking horse. It was crazy.
But it was handling it very well.
It was handling it fine. And a few of the bigger waves felt like it was lifting the boat in the air, and we were free falling down into the trough between the swells. And the boat would slam down and then lift off again and then slam down. And I'm sure people that are sailors have experienced that. It's not a comfortable feeling. Eventually, one of the waves was so powerful, it hit us from behind. I think we were in a trough at the time, so the wave swell that was on the aft of our boat was so big that it hit the bottom of our dinghy with such force that it snapped one of our davits off. And so then our dinghy is behind our boat, swinging from the other davit, suspended by a little snap swivel that keeps failing. That snap swivel comes off, we could kiss our dinghy goodbye.
Yeah. So I ended up pulling the dinghy in as close as I could and putting a line through the handle and tying it off on the winch.
Kay was a superhero. I'm so proud of Kay. The waves were insane while she's doing this.
It was terrible.
2 hours to cross 5 miles.
Yeah.
And we'd been dragging the dinghy, lines, and the davit for over an hour behind us. We pull into Coot, and there's a big mooring field.
It was like a sigh of relief when we got there. We pick a mooring ball, and everything's going just fine. I get the ball, get it on the hook, and try to put the line through, and I couldn't do it. And so I dropped it. And so that meant that Guy had to back up the boat.
So I tried to move our starboard engine forward, because you can drive a catamaran like a tank, you know, there's 2 controls, one for each engine. So I gave the starboard motor some gas, no response at all. And I looked at our gauges, and the engine had shut off.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that had happened, I didn't know why. Since we were head to wind when you do this pickup of the mooring ball, that means we're drifting backwards. And behind us
there's a few boats.
All the other boats. I only have one working engine, our port engine. And so I give it some port gas because that's better than nothing. The only response we get was to spin counterclockwise. And if you're familiar with a catamaran, that's opposite of what you'd expect it to do.
Yeah.
And so I could only get the catamaran to spin in the wrong direction.
I saw what was happening. Guy quietly says, "Kay, we have no power. The engine shut off." And we're like, "Oh shoot, it's probably the line." And I waved down this father and son in their dinghy just ahead of us. And he comes over and they grab our mooring line.
Tiny little dinghy.
It was
like 5 feet
It
long.
was like this big. And they were so amazing. They helped us pull the boat over to a mooring ball.
And they were jumping in the water.
Oh, and
their
young son, he was probably 20. He was swimming all over the place. And then went and volunteered to get the rope out of the prop.
Yeah.
They were just the nicest people, and thank goodness they were there.
If they watch this video, we owe you a lot.
And they were just
more
like,
than the beer
they're like, "No worries."
The reason that the catamaran was going backwards is because the rudder had the line wrapped around it too.
Yeah.
And so that's why it was spinning opposite of the way it should have. Such a stressful day.
It was.
That was the most stressful day that we've had on our catamaran.
Well, yeah, with 2 terrible things happening in the same day.
3.
Usually,
we had to get out of the bay.
Oh, yeah.
Then the crossing, and then
the boat. The mooring field disaster. The mooring incident.
And we drank from a fire hose of lessons learned this week is to not go anywhere until you've checked everything. Until we check the weather, the wind, the swell report, everything.
Yeah, I mean,
had we done that, we wouldn't have crossed at all, and we would have saved ourselves the 5 years of age that we lost in this adventure.
Yeah. It's really hard to understand. Well, it's been a challenge understanding the sailing in the Adriatic, just because the wind models are
generally not super accurate. They're generally okay. And then there's the swell, which there seems to be some kind of rhythm to it, but I haven't quite figured it out.
Yeah. I think what's happening around the islands that we're in is the weather reports are macro level, and all these islands create micro level weather.
Yeah, and we just need to talk to more people and ask them that have sailed here, which we've met a few, but not a lot of people have sailed here that we've met years and years, so it's always new to them as well. So anyway, it's a learning experience for sure.
That's it. Thank you for watching our video.
Yes,
really
thanks so much
appreciate it.
again, and thank you for subscribing, and thanks for all your awesome comments. They're super fun to read, super fun to hear what you like and what your opinions are. It's all good. So keep them coming, and if you want, please subscribe.
Thank you.
See you again.
See you next time on Sailing Blackbird.
Bye-bye.
We'll have more video next time.
Yeah, promise.
Bye-bye.